my dad and my mom were sitting in their apartment. My sister's there, and there's a knock on the door, and it's some guys that say, "We know what you're doing. You need to stop." And my dad was really confused. That's the FBI knocking on your door telling you to fucking stop. And they said, "We know what you're doing. We know you're selling. You need to stop." He was stealing medicine from the hospital, from patients. It could have been anything from, oxys, hydrocortisone, like anything. It could have literally been anything he was taking, because he did a little bit of everything over there. He would prescribe something, take a little bit off the top, bring it back home, maybe sell a little bit on the side to make some easy money, use a little bit to take the stress off, a very backdoor pharmacist type of guy. So they overcorrect, they move somewhere new, but old habits die really hard. B.A.D to me is my dad, Bruce Allen Downey. Those are his initials, that's him.
So how can someone manage to take such a large quantity of drugs from their workplace in such a highly regulated field? And to me, that's pretty simple. When there's a will, there's a way. And you're not going to legislate your way out of this. You're not going to arrest your way out of this. We have created an atmosphere in which there's so much judgment around people who use drugs and the drug use itself. It goes back to that stigma. And so when that provider starts to slip, addiction and substance use makes people very desperate, but it also makes them very creative. When I was using, I took a lot from society. I'm not saying that every person who uses drugs or has a substance use disorder takes a lot from society. I feel as if I did. I feel as if I owe it to society to give back.
My parents kind of skipped town. They decided to move pretty quickly to Syracuse, New York, where they knew they could have a little place to stay at first with some family friends and get back up on their feet. My parents both started working at Upstate Medical Hospital. My mom worked in the pediatric, ward, and my dad, he was doing cardiological work. I think he started working for St. Jude around this time. St. Jude Medical. I think they've stopped practicing now, but it was mostly a cardiological, place. They did a lot of pacemaker installs. So they tried to integrate into the community. They started being involved in ways that they could. My mom got involved at the church. My sister started going to school, so my parents had to, kind of balance that. This is all while they just first moved there. And, as they're rebuilding, they decide, hey, to really try to get our family put together, let's, have a fix-it baby. Hi, I'm here. So they had me. In 2002 I was born. My parents were still together. They were trying to, put things together as a family, keep things going, tie things down. They bought a house together. My dad was joining the fire department. And that's where my dad's career really started to take off and do a lot better. But I also think the pressure of having to rebuild everything really got to him.
But addiction is strong, it's powerful. It can be very genetic, especially from an alcoholic standpoint. You go through and you watch someone in addiction and you think, I don't want to be this person ever. I don't want to go out and do these things for myself. My name is Dana, and I work as a healthcare provider. I was born in Jacksonville, Florida. I did my nursing training through Jones College, and I've been doing this work ever since. It doesn't always happen that people necessarily will seek help for themselves. Sometimes things have to happen in their lives before they actually get brought to the door of help.
The drinking picks up, the drugs pick up. Again, he can't get away from them. And my dad just, his outlets become, claustrophobic to him. He's got 3 people that rely on him, and he's a man who can't even rely on himself. And he falls right back in, right off the wagon.
I have always had a problematic relationship with substances, even in high school. I think this was, pretty obvious to those around me, even if it wasn't so obvious to me. Throughout my 20s, I had, bouts with using some harder substances and always alcohol. Towards my late 20s into my early 30s, I did fall pretty hard into a substance use. I was an opiate user. So I really had a rough time. I got sober at 32. The closer you got to me, the more impacted you were going to be by my stuff. My journey with, forgiving myself and accepting myself, I have not reached the end of it. I can tell you that right now. I don't know that I ever will. I'm working on it, and it's important to me. And there are moments when I look back at the people I hurt.
The number one thing is that people they deny what they know within themselves. Something's not right, or I'm okay. And I see that often, over and over again. I'm all right. I'm okay. Because you get a false sense of how you're doing it with mental illness a lot of the times. And that is the sense that is not doing you any good. I think that, when you start out using, you're looking for like a happiness or something to extend what you're not getting in, your regular daily life. My experience, I think, is to watch people, and having been in addiction myself, which is 19 years now, but I found too with mental illness, when it is cared for properly, a person can have relief and go on and lead a normal life.
One of the other reasons they had been moving a lot, and a lot of other shit that had happened around this point, was my dad was cheating on my mom on a pretty regular and consistent basis. I can't, really give a number to ascertain how much, but a lot of the time that they moved, my dad had been cheating. And my mom knew about it and just really wished that he would change for the better and really stop. But ultimately, this last time was something different. So this is probably when I'm around 1 to 2 years old, in that range. He disappears from our lives. And one of my mom's, first memories of me, speaking was me saying, "I miss Daddy."
When you are on drugs and deep into addiction, it is very hard to be fully present in your life. That is with your family, that's with your job, that's with anything. So, I believe that Cameron's father was absolutely able to be productive and move forward, and also probably missing out on some really important things, both professionally and personally. Balance is something that everyone strives for. I strive for in my personal and professional life now. How am I balancing my obligations as a father, as a partner, as a leader in the community, as a leader of my agency? Am I striking the right chord? Am I interacting with the right people at the right time?
As I look back, I can see very clearly how I affected my family. I have 3 children, and I can see how my actions, my behavior, my mental illness, addiction, played a role in their lives. And as I started getting sober, as the mental health started becoming more treated, and I started being in that clearing where I could see what was going on around me, I started to not, at some point I said, I can't convince anyone that I'm doing okay. I can't do that anymore. My actions have to speak louder than my words.
I think my dad realized that, he was not being enough for, his family. My mom would not divorce him, but, that was it. He divorced her and got up and left just to try to, save face and make the right call. I don't think we got to see him for a few years while he was getting his shit together. I don't know how much he was partying. I don't know what he was doing, but I know he was still working. But he wasn't paying child support. He wasn't there. So that's when he moved to Tipperary Hill. We saw him on a semi-consistent basis. It was every other weekend. And he didn't want to see us. He didn't have the time to see us for like years of our lives. I don't even really remember my first memories of my dad besides him being at his apartment. And, when we would go there, he would like buy us things, do all this stuff, get this material gain to make up with for the time that he didn't get with us. And all I really wanted was to spend time with my dad. Like it wasn't more than anything like, Dad, like, let's go play catch or something like that. But my dad never wanted that connection. He never could work towards that connection in a meaningful way because I don't think he knew how. He didn't have a father who connected to him. He didn't have, family that he could connect to because he just felt ostracized. He felt othered his whole life.
Not everyone got the help that I did. And now not everyone's getting the help they need. The peace of mind is that my work for sobriety, my work for being mania-free wasn't in vain.
That's the thing that really broke my dad, was the fact that he never was able to seek out the help that he needed, and there never were resources. Not to say that everyone who is that fucked up and is in those situations is going to seek the help, even if it's provided to them. I think if you're deep enough in a hole, nobody's going to be able to pull you out except for yourself. You have to grab the rope if you want to get out.